equation for a line where I know the y-intercept and the slope, I would use the rule that y is equal to mx plus c. So that's my formula that I use. To use this formula in each of the questions, I'm asking myself, what's the c value and what's the slope value? The c value is maybe the easier one to see each time. So the c value is where it crosses the y-axis. It's called the y-intercept. So in each of these questions here, I might be able to see the c value fairly quickly, where it crosses the y-axis. That will give me the c value. Now I'm just going to make this just a little bit neater in each case. So here I'm seeing c is equal to 3, c is equal to 2, and c is equal to -3. The slope, I think the easiest way of getting that is if you draw the slope triangle and ask yourself, look, how is it changing? So I can see that I'm going out from 0 to 2, which is, if I go out 2 this way, I go up from 3 to 7, which means I go up 4 that way. So the slope of this is the rise over the run, which is 4 over 2. And a neater way of writing 4 over 2, I could also write it as just 2. Okay, so I'm just saying the slope in this one is equal to 2. 4 over 2, which is 2. In the next one, it seems that when I go out a distance of 4, I go up a distance from 2 up to 6, which is up a distance 4. The slope here, which is rise over run, will be 4 over 4, which is just equal to 1. And in the last one, I'm just coloring the slope triangle I'm looking at here, it seems that if I go out from 0 to 2, which would be a distance of 2, I would go up from -3 to +3, which is up a distance of 6. They all have positive slopes here in this. So the change here, as I do that, is a change of 6 over 2, which is a change of 3. So I can see the slope of this one here, in this example here, is +3. Now, once I've figured out what the slope and the y-intercept are in each case, well, then I can just write down, just by looking at it, what the equation of the line is. So in the first one, it's y is equal to 2x plus 3. The next one is y is equal to 1x, or x if you wish, plus 2. And the last one is that y is equal to 3x minus 3. So this is called the standard form of the equation. When it's written like this, that it has the x bit, the y bit, the number bit equals 0. That's the standard form of the equation. For me though, to answer the question, what's the slope? I would not like it in the standard form. I'd prefer to have it in what we call the slope-intercept form. So what I need to do with this equation, I'd like to manipulate this equation. I want to know that y is equal to mx plus c. This is the version I'd like it in. This version is called the slope-intercept form. Okay. Would anyone tell me, what could I do to this one, the yellow one, to turn it into the blue one? How would I go about that, so to make it look more like the blue one?
You would take the number in front of x and in front of y,
yeah,
and turn that into a slope, like in a fraction. Because when you're working into the equation, you always you have a fraction, and you take the bottom number, yeah, and bring it over to multiply with y, so it'd be 3 over 2.
That's unbelievably clever. Okay, you're absolutely correct in what you're saying. What was I going to say? Well, it's going to be, yeah, the answer is going to be 3 over 2. The fact that you could see that is really clever. I'm going to do it a little bit slower than that. Okay, I'm going to show you how to see what you're saying there. But it's extremely clever what you're saying there. I'm going to do it just slightly different first. I'm going to try manipulate the formula. I'm going to look, I know that 3x minus 2y take 9 is equal to 0. I'm just going to rewrite that so it looks as, when I'm finished with it, it's going to look that y equals something. Okay. When I look at this formula, what I would notice is, look, the 3x and a negative y. I don't like them there. I'd rather if the only thing on this side of the equation, on the left-hand side of the equation, was the negative 2y. What could I do to both sides of the equation so there's not a 3x and there's not a negative 9 on that side anymore? What would I do to both sides of the equation?
Divide it by 3.
I could do that. It's not, it doesn't get rid of the x though, and it doesn't get rid of the 9. I could, it's not as helpful as you might imagine though. I don't want the 3x there at all, so what can I do to both sides so there's not a 3x there?
So I take away 3x.
That's it. I can take away 3x from both sides. I don't want a negative 9 there. What could I do to both sides of the equation?
Add 9.
Add 9. So that's what I'm going to do. To both sides of this equation here, I'm going to, for both sides of the equation, I'm going to take 3x and I'm going to add 9. Now maybe you can do this without writing it out like this. I do it to the other side of the equation as well. I take 3x and I add 9. When I do this, I'm left with negative 2y is equal to negative 3x plus 9. Now, I don't want negative 2y. I just want y. What could I do to both sides of the equation so it's not negative 2y?
Add 2.
If I do that, I'd have negative 2y plus 2. I just want, if you wish, I just want 1y. Sorry?
Divide by negative 2.
That's the right answer. I divide by negative 2. So if I divide everything here by negative 2, is that fair? It is. And what I'm left with then is y is equal to, because negative 2 goes into negative 2 just once, I end up y is equal to negative 3 divided by negative 2 is just 3 over 2 plus and 9 divided by negative 2 is negative, so it's minus 9 over 2. Okay, so that's what I end up with. So it's not the nicest looking equation, but I've taken the original equation and kind of in 2 steps if you wish. So step 1, I just subtracted the x part and the constant term, the number part, from both sides of the equation. And part 2, I divided by the coefficient of the y. And I ended up with a version of the equation that looks like this. Now can you tell me what's the slope of the line?
3 over 2.
That's it. That the coefficient of the x, this thing here, that's my m. Y is equal to mx plus c. I have an extra bit of information here as well. If I asked you what's the y-intercept, you'd tell me the y-intercept would be?
Would it be minus 9 over 2?
It would. That's the y-intercept. So the slope of this line, the answer is m is equal to 3 over 2. Okay. I'm going to show you a cheat way of doing that. Okay, you do need to be able to do what I've done there. I think you probably could do it, you could train yourself to do that first line. Maybe I'm just going to, without the messiness, you could probably look at 3x minus 2y minus 9 equals 0 and straight away tell me, well then negative 2y is equal to negative 3x plus 9. Do you think you could do that as a one-step thing?
Yeah.
Kind of do that part in your head if you wish. And I'm going to just put that stuff back there. Just because you're higher level students, you should be able to do that in your head. And then again in your head, the divide by 2 line, maybe you could do this in a way, again, also that this bit here, that this bit, instead of dividing by 2, you could probably, in your head, just go straight from that line to the last line. Because you're higher level students, without the mess, you could kind of do is you could start off with that line. You could say, okay, if I take the things I don't want on the left hand side from both sides, I have this, and I divide by negative 2, I get the second one. Maybe you could do that in your head. Okay. There is a kind of a shorter way of doing it. I'm going to show it here. Whoever was talking at the start and giving me the answer could actually see that there's a proportion going on here. When I do those steps, okay, what would always happen is the following. Okay, I might just get rid of this. So this is the other approach. If the equation is written out in standard form, it looks like this. So you have an equation that's ax plus by plus c is equal to 0. So that's called the standard form, the a bit written first. If it's written like that, the slope of that line is always going to be negative a over b. Okay, so if it's written that way, the answer is always going to be negative a over b. This is a formula that is not given in the log tables. If you wish to use this formula, this is an extra one you would learn yourself. And that a stands for here the coefficient here of the x, and the b stands for the coefficient of the y. But it assumes that the equation is written exactly like that, that the x and the y and the constant term equal to 0, that it's all on that side. So if you did that, and someone said at the start, you could just look at this and say, well, the slope of this line is negative 3 over negative 2, which is equal to 3 over 2.